Aussi, étant donné que vous allez être invité à participer, donc ça demande une certaine rigueur, une certaine discipline, de ne pas oublier que vous êtes un de 350, si tu veux, et de rester assez concis, mais quand même d'exprimer le plus près de votre cœur possible ce que vous voulez partager. Naturellement, quand vous allez être en... je pense que c'est, on dit diade en français, ou triade, ça se dit en français, ça? Lorsque vous partagez ensemble, ben, vous prenez la langue que vous voulez. Il n'y a pas d'imposition là. From now on, I'm going to switch to English so my friends know what I'm talking about. So, I'm going to say a couple of things, not too long, and then I'll make the introduction. I've been in the transformation business for over 15 years, and it makes me feel very old. But everything that we're seeing now is actually wonderful because just 10 years ago, very few people knew what we meant by transformation. Although we're not sure what we mean yet, and I think it's always wise to define what we mean by transformation before we sell it or we propose it. One of the things that I've realized is that there's always like many views to a transformation, and three of the views that I think are necessary that we become more aware of as close to the moment as possible are the practice that we become really good at. So in your case, it could be Kanban, it could be Scrum, it could be many of those. So many of you, I'm sure, and I've met, are cross-framework, and you can apply them, mix them, create hybrids on the fly. So it's very agile of the community. I'm very impressed with the community. I've been with the community a little bit for about 3 years now with Pixis, sort of playing around with them. The second one would be like, so that practice that you have that is multifunctional, hybrids, whatever it can be, embodied, integrated, always contributes to something. So it contributes to a value that needs to be defined, so as you know. And so how do you stay present to that dynamic between your practice and the value that you give to the people that you care about in the organization in which you work in? And the final component is the insight that you get from that dynamic between your integration, your practice, your expertise, how you contribute to the space. And that dynamic creates a third, which often we don't make explicit in the moment, is the insight that you continuously get from that. And so how do you balance these three things out is really what we're interested about. And today, the group is going to invite you into, I would say, the three of them without making them explicit, which is going to float around of them. But there's a madness to this sort of, or a structure to this madness, I should say. And so the real theme here is at the end, hopefully, instead of getting knowledge from this, you'll get insight. Then it will be personal insight from your direct experience of what we're going to invite you to participate in. So that's it. That's what you can expect so far. And now I'd like to sort of introduce the configuration or the setup here. So we have Tom Murray. Tom Murray is from Massachusetts. I think it's close enough in that end of the United States. Tom is also the founder of Stage Lens. And Stage Lens is something that we will be talking to you about. It's a form of tool that measures, if you will, the center of gravity of the culture in the organization in a way that's new using artificial intelligence. It's a brilliant thing. It's almost a launch here, so you guys are privy to that. Then we have Jeff Fitch. Jeff is actually founder, CEO of Pacific Integral from Seattle. Some of you may have heard of Pacific Integral. They are deep into the integral movement. They've been in that business for what, over 10 years, Jeff?
15.
And so they have cohorts of 15, 20. I'm an example of the outcome of what happens if you do that.
We have other
so I was in
examples if you need
GTC 6, actually. And now we're at GTC what, 25, 30? Yeah, okay. So obviously you want to look into this. This is really cool. And then we have Lisa Norton. Lisa is Assistant Dean at the New School, or is it the Parsons School?
The Parsons School of Design at the New School in New York.
Right. So Lisa is joining us as an academic and a practitioner at Meta Integral as well. She's a deep practitioner. Also, she's writing a book on design being, which is kind of nice. So we're making explicit that it's me that I'm bringing into the space. So beautiful stuff that I'm studying myself. And we have Stéphane. You probably know Stéphane, the last minute invitation. So we'll see what happens. And then we have Charles-Louis, who most of you probably know too. And Charles-Louis is willing to participate with us on the stage and join us. So it's all yours, Tom. Go ahead.
All right. Take us to the next part here. Okay. Thank you for bearing with us as we present in English. I think maybe Jean said this already, but I didn't understand if it was in French. If you need any translation or you can't understand, you raise your hand and we can get help. Various people on the stage for doing that. Also, thank you for being willing to do an experiment with us. And we want to thank the organizers of the conference for inviting us to try something different with you. Instead of doing the regular kind of keynote, we're doing something more participatory. And that involves participation of a panel instead of one person, and also your participation. So there will be times when we ask you to get with your neighbor, to pair up, and reflect on a question we will ask you. So instead of it being a keynote address, since there are many notes playing, we call it a key chord. Do we need some help translating with that, Jean? The chord? It's clear? Okay. Yeah.
A chord, c'est un accord musical.
Yeah. Key chord.
Qui crée une harmonie, j'imagine.
Des fois. Yeah. So we're going to try to, rather than telling you what we mean by participatory agility, we're going to try to give you an experience to have a little bit of your own sense of where we are trying to take you with that process. And then, as we said in the workshop right after this, in the cafe area, we'll just have some opportunity to go a little deeper for those of you who are interested. We're going to ask you also to be brief. There will also be times when we invite people to share with the microphones. We have 2 microphones floating around. One over here and one over here. Okay. And Lisa, Jeff, and I, we're holding the space for the process. And we also have some people with expertise in agile in the panel. These two, Jean also.
Stéphane.
And these guys are also, of course, have a lot of expertise. So there will be times when we invite the panel members to reflect on what's going on. So all 4 are free to just add in. And again, and so they have the mics, so they will hand it if anyone has something to say. And please try to be brief, because we have several things we're trying to do in this time. So let's start by actually, first I'll invite anyone who is up there who wants to take a moment to find a seat. You can do that. There are seats down here.
Attends. Je voudrais juste préciser, donc on a demandé qu'on vienne apporter des chaises pour le dernier rang. Donc ça va venir. Désolé.
And I'll invite everyone now to sort of find a partner, someone next to you that you can just, so we can do a little bit of warming up to get used to being with each other. Find someone and just talk about something that you are excited or interested in your life in the last week or something, last day or the last week. So just 1 minute each. Just get to know each other. Pairs, it's okay if there's some threes, is okay, but just 2-3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, should we maybe do that?
Thank you. Great. It's a very lively group. We're trying to do something interactive and get the room a little energized. So the thing you always are afraid of is you ask the audience to do something and it's very quiet and very cautious, and you're quite the opposite. So we're excited to be with you. And so we're going to take you through a few things to reflect about. And the theme is what it means to be agile, as well as to do agile with you or your company. So, Lisa?
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, everyone. We are so delighted to invite you into this participatory experience this morning. And the first thing we'll do is we're going to draw on the collective expertise in the room as a first starting point. So we'd like to ask you the first prompt, and you'll be working again with your partner, is we'd like to ask you to tell us some words and phrases that describe agile. for you. Some words and phrases that describe agile in your own words, and say something about what are the ideal qualities. What are the qualities that characterize an agile team or project? So we're looking for your own interpretation of what's the difference that agile makes in the workplace. So take a few minutes. We'll have 10 minutes in total for this section. So go ahead and work with your pairs and...
We're going to popcorn.
Oh, right. That's right. So first thing we want to do actually is invite you to, we have Julianne and Norman on the microphone here, and they're going to be inviting you to actually speak out.
Maybe see if you can get them silent.
Let me have your attention. Sorry, I directed you. I pointed you in the wrong direction. Let me have a do-over. So iteration number 2. We're gonna do popcorn style and just source your expertise here in the room and your own experience. So we have Julianne and Norman on the side of the room with microphones, and we'd like to hear from you directly. And we'll take 9 minutes or so just to pull some insight from the room. So if you have something, just go ahead and raise your hand, and here's one here.
Julien?
We have one hand up. And let's have just a word or a phrase.
Sorry. I would like to say the first and important thing would be trust.
Trust.
Within the team.
Trust, thank you.
Openness in front of change. Openness to change.
Openness to change. Wonderful. Who else? Here's one.
Je ne sais pas comment on le dit en anglais, mais pivot.
Pivot.
I didn't.
And I don't know how to say it in French. I would say fun.
A pivot. A pivot.
What was the last one?
Could we have the last one again?
Fun.
Fun. So pivoting and fun.
I would go for continuous learning.
Continuous learning. Thank you. Who else? We have one here in the blue.
Customer value. Customer value.
Customer value.
Yeah.
Customer value. Thank you. Apologies for my English. Please. One here. We have one in the front here.
I will say responsibility.
Responsibility. Thank you. What else? The ideal characteristics of an agile way of working and practicing.
Running.
Say that again? Running. Running.
Shared understanding.
Shared understanding. Thank you.
Self-organized team.
Self-organizing.
Collaborative participation.
Collaborative participation. Thank you.
Stop and reflect, I would say.
Stop and reflect.
For me, I would say communication.
And proximity, it goes a little bit with communication.
A couple more down here on the side.
Cohesion, la cohésion.
Cohesion.
Commitment.
Commitment.
Like in Aikido, use the energy of your partners.
Use the energy of the process. Did I hear
The partner.
Of the partners. Using energy of the partners. Great.
Introspective.
Introspective.
Team spirit. Team spirit.
In spirit. Team spirit. Thank you. Team spirit. If Norman, Julianne, our experts, please feel free to chime in if you have.
I would like to say presence.
Continuous improving.
Continuously groovy.
No. But that's a good one.
Oh, all right. Well, there's that too. Continuous improvement.
I would say fun another time. Yeah. Once again, fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
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 I like the term to give someone's time, to help someone.
Great, thank you.
Is someone there, Norman?
Norman?
In
Norman,
the middle.
behind you. Behind you. Non, c'est plus haut, c'est plus haut.
Flat organization.
Flat organization.
Flat organization.
Autonomy.
Autonomy. Thank you. Great insights, everybody. We see there's one over here.
Short cycle.
Short-sighted. Short cycles. Sorry. My ears are tuned for English. Excuse me.
Courage and sharing. Sharing and courage.
Encouraging sharing. Thank you. One more.
Feedback.
Feedback.
Yeah. Reflection.
Feedback.
Opportunity.
Opportunity. Thank you.
Yes.
Is there one more?
Multiple skills in the multiple skills in the team.
Multiple skills. Thank you.
Hello. I'm over here. Hi.
Hi.
We were just thinking actually that, go on, say it. I think what we would like to say is that all the organization have to be on one page, so we all have to be actually like aligned. So we could say it's just being in harmony, if you like.
Being in harmony, being aligned.
Being aligned.
Thank you. Norman, Julianne, do you have any insights from the perspective of the field? Anything you'd like to add into this?
Moi, je dirais l'authenticité, donc rester soi-même. Oui, c'est vraiment ça en fait.
Transparency. Yep. Transparency.
Transparency. Thank you. We have just half a minute left. Does anybody else want to pop in with a couple more?
Exploration.
Exploration. Thank you.
Accepter l'erreur comme une part du processus.
Ah, lovely. Error as part of the process.
I'm a bit afraid to say it in English because human-oriented and mindset. Human-oriented and mindset.
Thank you. Human-oriented mindset. Great. And mindset. Human-oriented and mindset. Thank you. Let's bring this first section to a close, if we could, and we'd like to change gears now. We've really surfaced and harvested a lot of insight from this really nice big group of expertise. So what we'd like to do with this rich field of language is now ask you to reflect a little bit more on your experience on the ground in practicing agile. So in today's exploration of agile doing and agile being, think about and put yourself in the mindset of you're in the workplace, you're in a situation, an experience of practicing agile. And what are some of the challenges that you come across in your practice and your teaching of agile on the ground, so to speak, in your daily work? Does the quality, does the character of your experience of agile in practice match the ideal? Are there times when it does, perhaps times when it doesn't? And we'd like to invite you then to reflecting on the language that we had harvested in the previous set. We'd like you to reflect on this question with your partner. And we'll take 6 minutes to do this. So please, with your partner. Or your trio.
Tu veux partager avec moi? Tu peux partager.
For what?
Oh,
that doesn't matter.
Wasn't too sloppy.
No. No, it's fine. Perfection is overrated.
Yeah.
I like that we're having them talk together. It's good. I like that we're having them talk together. It's good. You know, who knows if they even know each other, and it's then they actually have a meaningful conversation.
And they're really engaging.
So then we do a report back.
Yeah.
So Tom? Tom? I don't think we use those.
That's
Tom.
Tom.
I don't know what he's doing there, but
Yeah.
I'm tracking it here, so we're 9 minutes behind. But we started 10 minutes behind.
I see.
But,
So,
you know,
yeah.
if we just, you know, maybe shave a couple of minutes
Yeah.
off in each section, we'll be fine.
Okay. So then maybe we'll see how this next might be the last one. Maybe
I think just do it as planned, but, you know, just be
Okay.
mindful.
it's great.
notice the flashing T-shirts?
Sorry.
No.
Do you notice the flashing T-shirts?
Oh, right. Those are amazing, aren't they? That's really a techie crowd when you have
That's really cool.
that going on. Yeah.
That would be good playing for right.
What are you doing with the timer? Are you just, no, I mean on your phone. Are you timing each section or are you? Yeah, when I start my section, it would be helpful if that timer was running so I knew where we were.
I press lap, so that each section is...
Okay, let's give it about 30 seconds and bring it to a close.
I see.
I'll put it up
I
here.
see,
I'll
yeah.
just redo it all.
Yeah.
So,
I'm tracking where we are. We're not 9 minutes behind.
and it's okay to go 5 minutes over.
Okay.
So we'll just, yeah.
Okay. I just when I get going, it'll be a little bit hard to track the time.
Okay, let's come back into the room. Thanks, everybody. Great. Well, that sounded rich from where I'm sitting. Let's, for the next several minutes, we'd like to hear from several of the pairs. Can you raise your hand if you'd like Julianne or Normand to bring the microphone around? We'll just like to hear a little bit about your conversation in a few words. What did you discover? What did you remember from your own experience? Please.
We absolutely need to give time for exploratory, to explore the new things and take risk. Limited risk in a framework with the support of the management. This is what we discussed with Nathalie. It's really important to receive the support from the management too, but take risk.
Wonderful, thank you. Someone else?
I think fear of changing is one of the big impediments in implementing agile.
Okay. Yeah, fear is very present, very real.
Okay. For us, it was so having the management and the whole supply chain accept to change. If you develop software and then you integrate to clients, it's having the whole supply chain to change and not just you, because it doesn't work otherwise.
Great insight. Thank you.
By having a human-centric approach, you can remove all the passion and try to have constructive feedback and communication, and you can bring to all the other points that are on the list.
Sometimes the lack of a human-centered approach or the less human orientation than we would like has us not necessarily meeting the ideal or the ideal notion of what agile could be or the promise of agile. What's anyone else from your own discussion?
Yeah, over there. Yeah, sorry. Over there. Yes, sorry. The time difference and distributed teams. Like distributed location between the same team, like working offshore teams with.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be tricky.
Yeah, the trickiness of logistical and time zone and all the structural conditions can challenge us. Please.
Deal with team working in agile and team not working in agile.
Great. the meeting of different ways of working. Wonderful. Please get you a mic here. Please, in the back.
I got the mic. The lack of agile leadership. So many times the top management of an organization wants the operations to change, but they don't change themselves.
Okay. All right. A resounding applause for that one. So a lot of empathy in the room for the different mental models and different degrees of participation that might be present when we go to enact agile approaches. Thank you.
Yes. Here, the fear of exposure, it's all fine to be autonomous and to have trust, but it's not easy. You can fail and everybody sees it, and it's tough to accept that.
Great. Fear of exposure. Yes, wonderful. Let's just have say one more.
Yeah, the ability of a team to stay agile and long term, and especially stay agile without a coach, and that's something that we are missing right now.
Okay, to stay agile over the long term, over that long game.
Yes, so for us it was mainly about ego, and old habits. So we have always been doing like that way. Why do we need to change?
Okay, so how we show up in the system as full human beings. Ego being one of those factors. Great. Can we have one more? Let's take one more here, and then we're going to turn to our experts.
I think the most difficult to us is to explain to the management that it's always the client that decide at the end.
Time that decides at the... Oh, I'm sorry, the client, okay. Okay, so client-centeredness along with human-orientedness. Great, thanks everyone. So I wonder if I could invite any one of our Pixis Belgium team members to join in and make some observations.
There's one here.
Please.
Yeah, so one of the things that we discussed, it was that we're talking about agile, about this changing way of working and being, and I've been there, and my when I first gave agile training, it was like, okay, this is the theory, you listen and just get it, and it's not that, because that's not what it's about. And the more and more I now try new things in the trainings where I could give 2 times the training with the same title and it will be completely different. And I'm fine with that now. But it's interesting because then the idea of giving an agile training is not to give the theory because you can find it on the internet, but it's about answering the question of people who try to do it in their daily lives. So I can always send out an email with all the links to the Scrum Guide, to Kanban, to the Agile Manifesto, but for the rest it's mainly, okay, but how do I do it?
And what are you seeing industry-wide? How would you say that maps onto the whole ecosystem in Agile globally? Can you say anything about some patterns or tendencies?
Well, from what I've seen, where it sticks the most is where people get it in their own, blood and veins. It sounds a bit strange like that. But the thing is, you cannot just put post-its on the wall and say we're agile.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, but it's not that. It's really by understanding what's behind that, and it might mean different things to different people, to different organizations, and that's okay. I think that's why the Scrum Guide is only 16 pages long and the Agile Manifesto is only like a few lines of text, so that you can interpret it and bring it back to your own world.
Okay, that's where the richness is then. You make it your own, you individualize it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. Please.
Not going to talk about trends, because who am I to see trends? But in my small context, what I see is that where people bite the bullet, adopt it more easily, is the sooner they start experimenting with it, being agile, being a specific framework. But as soon as they stop what they're doing and they start thinking on how to improve it, and then when they stop thinking and start applying it, then that's where the change starts to occur, and that's usually where the machine starts or restarts, because it could have trials, tentatives before that, but then that's what I see. So when you stop from just the theory or the very formal trainings, and then when you start applying it, may seem very obvious, but still that's not what always happens in the industry.
So these distinctions between thinking agile, doing agile, and being agile, being very real and tangible in practice. Thank you. I wonder, Julien or Normand, if you could comment on what you're seeing industry-wide in Belgium.
Moi, je vais rester authentique, comme j'ai dit, je parle français. Je préfère m'exprimer en français parce que je parle moins bien que vous anglais. Et surtout, je ne voudrais pas que vous manquiez ce que je vais dire. Donc, j'aimerais bien juste dire, arrêtez d'appeler ça l'agilité, c'est tout. Je pense qu'on peut se libérer de ça, parce que l'agilité rime avec Scrum, rime avec des post-it, et donc on est appelé dans des sociétés parce que les gens ne font pas bien le stand-up. Oui, mais est-ce que c'est ça qu'on veut qu'ils fassent? Donc, il n'existe pas la méthode agile. Il existe un état d'esprit, et c'est vraiment ça qu'on essaye d'amener dans l'industrie. Vous pensiez venir voir une keynote, et en fait on vous demande d'y réfléchir, parce que la keynote c'est vous qui la faites. Et pour moi c'est vraiment ça l'essence de l'agilité, on peut vous montrer à quoi ça ressemble, mais il n'y a que vous qui pouvez y aller. Donc nous on est là pour vous aider, mais pas pour vous expliquer chaque pas. Attention, faites ceci, faites comme ça. C'est pas des katas, c'est pas. Il n'y a pas une façon de faire l'agilité. Il y en a autant de personnes qu'il y a dans la salle aujourd'hui. Donc, voilà, mon reflet sur l'industrie, c'est. Je pourrais faire un sketch. Donc, le CTO nous appelle et voilà, on a des équipes agiles, on voudrait qu'ils livrent plus. Ouais, vous savez, voilà. Sans se poser la question de savoir est-ce que déjà avec ce qu'on a actuellement on peut le faire. Et puis donc nous on doit arriver comme un espèce de sparadrap et puis on doit sortir des KPI sur c'est quoi, comment va la transformation agile et est-ce qu'ils livrent plus, comment on peut monitorer des humains dans leur découverte. Juste foutez-leur la paix, laissez-les être ce qu'ils sont et soyez clairs juste sur ce que vous voulez apporter par l'entreprise. J'ai oublié de dire tout à l'heure le meaningful, donc le sens finalement de ce qu'on fait. Si on trouve le sens et qu'on est aligné là-dessus, en gros je m'en fous comment vous le faites. Appelez ça l'agilité, appelez ça lean, appelez ça ce que vous voulez. Pour moi c'est ça l'agilité, c'est de laisser la liberté aux gens d'actionner finalement le sens et la mission de notre organisation.
Thank you, Normand. Now, actually...
Lisa, do you want me to say something do you want me to translate or reframe so at least we're good?
I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear the essence of what Normand
The
said.
essence?
Yeah, can you translate the essence of it?
Do you want me to do this now?
There's another person who wants to.
Okay.
I wanted to hear it because...
Norman, je voudrais réagir à ce que tu viens de dire. Est-ce qu'on est plus dans tu veux expliquer quoi faire, mais pas le comment, quand tu parles d'agilité? C'est de ça dont tu es en train de vouloir, que tu essaies d'expliquer?
En fait, les différents commentaires que j'ai entendu le management, on doit avoir l'accord du management. Et le management, s'il est d'accord, ça marche. Si on pouvait se libérer du management. C'est quoi la hiérarchie? Elle sert à quoi? Moi j'aime bien, il y a un bouquin d'un Indien qui s'appelle...
Okay.
En fait, c'est l'idée de... Le management est au service des personnes qui créent dans l'entreprise. Et pas l'inverse. C'est ça.
So I'm going to try to capture very quickly the essence of what I understood, which is just that, right? So my own fixation is the minute that you seem to name something, it's the end of that, right? Where we seem to point to a phenomena that's like so beautiful, so natural, and now we're naming it something, and then it's reified in space, and that beautiful essence is gone. And so I was going to say something else, yes, and you started with, and I thought that was funny. So what do we name this event next year? Journée quoi?
Okay. Thank you. Great. I'm going to turn it over then to Jeff Fitch, who's going to take us into the next part of our process.
Okay, thank you, everybody. This is really, really rich. So everybody just take a deep breath and just let that last section go as we step into the next question. One of the things that we are doing here is we're creating community, and I really appreciate the feeling of this room as a conversation. And so let's continue with the conversation. So this next question, as you can tell, we're just taking a series of questions that we sit with and inquire into. And this next question brings us a little bit closer to the being of Agile. So just take a moment and, could we have the words back, Tom? Yeah, just take the words from great. Just take a moment and we'll recall the qualities of Agile that we spoke to earlier. And take a moment and reflect on these words, maybe just take a look at them and see which ones stand out to you, which ones seem to have a little energy or a charge to them for you. Yeah. And I just invite anyone who's in there's not many, but if you're having a conversation, if I could just have your attention for a moment. Yeah, so we're really all present together. So just take a look at those words. And the question we're going to explore now is, how do these principles really show up in your life, in your relationships, in your family, as a partner, as a business partner, as a person, in your personal relationships, maybe as a parent? Because what's starting to come out of the conversation is that there are some deeper principles and qualities that are present in Agile, things like trust, autonomy, transparency. These are challenges for any of us to live in our life. So the question just to reflect on right now, we're going to just take a moment to reflect on this, is how do these show up in your life? What are your personal edges or challenges around these principles? So, like an example is trust. I mean, this is huge. This is a lifelong journey to engage with developing trust in ourselves. Or someone mentioned earlier the challenge of exposing yourself or working with fear of change. So just take a moment and reflect. We're going to just take a quiet moment together. You can maybe write some notes or just reflect on this. Yeah, we'll take 3 or 4 minutes just to sit with this question. And I invite you, just if you could refrain from speaking during this part, just sit with the question.
Juste un petit rappel, c'est que si on fait cette partie ou cet exercice-là de la façon qu'on voulait vous l'offrir, ce serait de rester le plus silencieux possible et d'accéder, si tu veux, vos propres réflexions personnelles sur ce qui se passe pour vous ici maintenant. Donc, après, on aura l'occasion de partager avec nos partenaires, mais pour l'instant, l'objectif, c'est de rester avec soi-même, d'observer ce qui se passe pour vous ici maintenant.
Merci. We'll take about 1 more minute. And in a moment, we will invite you to share with your partner. This is a more personal question, so you're welcome to share whatever you feel comfortable with. But I invite you in the reflection to be honest and open with yourself. What's your real edge around being agile in life? Okay, so I invite you now to turn to your partner, and as you do this, as the partner, just listen. There's no need to coach or anything like that. It's just a sharing of what this reflection has brought forth in you, and so just take about 5 minutes to share with your partner.
We'll give them a mark at halfway.
We'll give you a mark at halfway, so you know that you've been halfway through. Okay. Just let him go. So that was started at the beginning. So about half. Yeah. That's about the halfway point. Halfway point. Take about one more minute. Une minute. You're going to go back over there. Okay. Okay, you can begin to wrap up, begin to complete. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. So really bring your attention back into the room.
Sorry. It's a very short one I learned recently. If you do this, it's hard to see. But if you start to do this, it's a lot easier to see for everyone in the room.
Okay.
And when you see someone do that, we do the same,
Okay.
and you got silence very quickly.
Thank you. Norman taught me the other day, not mistakes, just experiments. So I'll experiment. Yeah, thank you. So this is this question. It's a kind of the first two questions in a way were questions of the mind, and this is more of a question of the heart. So I really invite you to really be present in the conversation now. And what I mean by a question of the heart is, as you were speaking, I turned around and looked at the list and said to myself, which one of these, stands out to me? And it was responsibility. And that's a learning edge always for me. Where am I in my life blaming and feeling disempowered? And how can I actually accept responsibility? And so that is a question of the heart because it puts me in the game. It makes me realize I'm part of this fully. It reduces my separation from this thing called agile or whatever is the work that we're doing. So I invite us just to, we're going to go back to the mic, invite anyone who wants to share anything about what came in your conversation. It might be a reflection, it might be your own personal edge that you just want to share in the room to help us understand. And we'll take about 5 minutes for this, so just raise your hand like we did before if you'd like to share. Yeah, and we'll keep it concise, no more than, say, 30 seconds each, if you can.
Yeah, my personal reflection was that all those nice qualities are
is just the perfect world, but we are just humans. So the one that steps out for me is that at the end of the day, we are humans. So we make mistakes and we are not perfect.
Right, beautiful. Yeah, it's in the end of the day, we're human, and I totally I love that. And isn't it interesting that somehow we forget that? What do we think we are? Yeah.
More in my personal life.
Is it off? I don't think it's coming through.
Speak louder.
Okay. Okay. So for me, in my personal life, when I just have my reflection, is that we don't have time to stop and reflect. So I think at work we try to do it. We try to have feedback every time. But in my life, I just don't find the time to do that. So it's just a reflection I get there, and it's probably very important to find time to do that.
Time to stop and reflect. Thank you. We'll have a little bit more time for that in a minute.
In fact, I don't work as an agile group or anything. And when I was thinking about the word and how to link them to my life, I thought of the opposite. How can I link these words that are in my life into an agile system or development and don't know what?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, I've been educated to keep kind of control on everything, and agile is more the way of sometimes let it go and accept that you don't control everything. And also in the professional world as a manager, just let go and let people do their self-experience and things like that. And it gives actually. Doing this gives also self-confidence to the people of the team, but also to myself, because I say, okay, I do like this, and it works.
Thank you. So that's beautiful. I really appreciate that revealing. You're also practicing transparency to reveal your own edge of wanting to keep things in control. I share that one.
We quickly came to the conclusion that some of these principles are, we consider them as essential to our personal life, if not natural for some, and they are actually not always considered as such in the professional world. And sometimes difficult to accept from the management, like trust within the teams. This is not considered as natural in the classic enterprise world.
Right, thank you. So the question here is really to reflect too, just on if it's trust, for all of us, what's our own personal edge around trusting? Yeah, anybody else?
Yeah, my own reflection was also coming to children's, and we are speaking of self-management, we are speaking of hierarchy, or not a lot of hierarchy, and I say, well, how do we react with our own children's? Do we have a strong hierarchy? Are we in the mode command and control? Or,
right.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say also about kids, I have 2 daughters that are entering the teenage world, so that's new for me. And so the ones that stood out was use the energy of the partners and being in harmony. This is something which is very, very tough for me right now.
Bon courage.
Nice.
Take a couple more, including our panel members. Any of you else?
So for me, it's more about my personal life, and it's really about trust, commitment, and courage. And the example I would like to give is I used to tell my friends I'm going to be there at 10, even though I know that I'm going to be late. And I think it takes courage to say that, and it never helped me to say that I'm going to be on time, but being late anyway.
Right. Right, beautiful. That's the practice of truthfulness. Really deep practice. One more, and then we'll take a moment to reflect. Anyone else?
Norman?
My reflection was also about children and the relation with school and accept their failure before success. So give them time to fail and then trust them to improve.
It's fantastic. I mean, the children being parent, obviously. How many of you are parents in the room?
Maybe.
Okay, good. It's such a powerful practice area. Go ahead. Last one.
Et je voulais peut-être continuer ici, pas seulement leur donner le temps d'échouer, mais leur apprendre à échouer.
Et si je peux faire le lien par rapport à ma propre expérience personnelle, donc avec une famille de 4 enfants, donc comment essayer de les aider à se développer tout en leur inculquant certaines limites, pour faire le lien en ce qui me concerne en tout cas, c'est pour moi c'est la présence, c'est être là pour les inviter à ouvrir et à maintenir le dialogue et de les impliquer finalement dans la discussion plutôt que d'essayer de les forcer à parler ou d'avoir une conversation qui va uniquement dans un seul sens. Donc en ce qui me concerne, c'est la présence qui a aidé par rapport à ça.
Just quickly, so to capture the essence, it would be like he's talking about systems of boundaries and rights and responsibility and how that moves around, right? Sometimes I have rights, I have responsibilities too. Shit, you know. It's like
Beautiful. Okay, I know there's more of you that can share, but we'll do one more over here. Okay, over here.
Tant qu'à faire, autant continuer dans le thème des enfants. Hein. Les miennes, moi j'ai 2 filles qui ont 6 et 4 ans. Et je pense que le plus difficile, c'est de concilier leurs priorités et nos priorités. Et d'arriver un peu à les laisser s'exprimer par rapport à ça, mais aussi qu'elles comprennent que nos priorités vont dans leur sens aussi. Mais voilà, elles sont un peu différentes. Donc.
Okay. All right. So let's take another deep breath and just invite you to again have a moment of silence together. What did you say, Jean? Reste à soi-même. Is that how you say it? Reste à soi-même. And what we're going to do now is just take a moment to be quiet together. So as someone said earlier, it's hard to find a moment for reflection. So this is a moment for reflection on what we just heard, what stimulated in you. So the first part is just to sit with it, just to take in everything that's been said, your own reflections that you haven't been able to say, the conversation so far.
I just want to say I invite you also to notice how hard that is.
If it is, yeah. Now what you can do is, as we continue to sit in silence, just take another breath and let it go. Don't try to figure it out, process it, just let it all go.
maybe a minute left, just so you know.
So what we're doing here is inviting you to explore the space between thinking agile and doing agile and being agile. And I think the theme of making the connection between thinking and theory and doing is a pretty common thing to talk about. And we're taking you into a little bit of a deeper exploration of that space between doing and being. And you might notice what that feels like in your body to make that step. And the amount of space or spaciousness that it takes to sort of dip into that question with all of the vulnerability, self-acceptance that it takes. There's this idea of going slow to go fast. This is even sinking a little deeper into that concept. There's a kind of sacredness in those moments, a way that you're giving a gift to yourself, a gift to the other people that you work with. And if you take away from this experience some excitement about this sense of what it means to be agile, your first impulse might be to try to work with your clients or your coworkers to try to get them to explore what it means to be agile. But I invite you to pause there for a moment, and instead of moving quickly into that, see if there's a place where you yourself can go further into that question of what it means for me to be agile in this moment. So go slowly, just get a sense of the kind of space and time that it takes and the kind of vulnerability that it takes for you to take that step and to help other people take that step. They may not be ready, but hopefully you are. So what we want to leave just 1 minute for here, and I'll say that we're going to do our workshop right after this in the other room is going to give anyone who's interested an opportunity to just talk some more about what's come up here. But just take 1 more minute. If there's anything you want to write down for yourself that you want to remember, any little insights or anything that you want to remember or reflect on the rest of the day, the rest of the week, just take a moment to do that. Or even questions that come up for you. Just to record any insights or important questions that feel alive for you in this moment, so you can reflect on them later.
Just want to be transparent, Tom, because I'm feeling the pressure of stealing time from the other speakers, so if we want to just honor that as quickly as possible, it's present for me.
Okay, thank you very much, and we're going to close, and if you want to continue this discussion, we'll pick it up in the workshop in the cafe.